Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, June 26th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian Feast and Marian Meditations. Well, we have a great number of feasts today, and they're going to take us all over the globe, but we will start off in the East Indies with Our Lady of Melyapore, or also sometimes called Our Lady of Mylapore. And we're told that this is a shrine in the East Indies where Saint Francis Xavier often went to go pray when he spent 11 years among the people of India. Right? We're told that Our Lady was his constant companion, and he used to pray before this image called Mailai Matha in Tamil, which is Our Lady of Mylapore. Right? It's a very old statue, about 3 feet tall. Right? Now, the Church of St. Thomas of Mylapore contains this Marian shrine. According to tradition, we know that Thomas the Apostle went to India around 52 A.D. He was martyred there around 72 A.D., again, according to tradition. And we're told that he's buried at the shrine of Our Lady of Melyapore, and there's also there the relics of Saint Francis Xavier, right? So it's very interesting. Especially, too, there's when Marco Polo visited the shrine in 1292, and a visitor named Joseph in 1501, they thought that the church was comparable to the churches of St. John and St. Paul in Venice, right? But unfortunately, in 1517, when the Portuguese arrived, the shrine was completely destroyed. It's interesting because the people knew they were Christians, but that was it. They had Mary of their mother, and that was it, right? Next, we'll go down to Mexico, where they celebrate Nuestra Señora del Roble in Monterrey, Nuevo León in Mexico, right? In 1592, Franciscan missionary Father Andrés de León set a small statue of Our Lady in a tree. A few years later, a girl who was herding goats found it glowing and fragrant after hearing her name coming from the tree. The church authorities, the priest, tried to move the image to the church, but each time it returned to the oak, and finally after the third time, it was allowed to stay. The present basilica is the 4th church to be built on that site. It was completed June 26, 1910. The statue was crowned May 30th, 1964, and the patroness of Monterrey, Our Lady of the Oak, is honored on December 18th. Next, we go across the world to France, in Notre-Dame de Aiguebelle, in Montjoie, Drôme, Rhône-Alpes, in France. This is a famous abbey which was founded in 1137 on, you guessed it, June 26th. And so it's Our Lady of Daugubel. That's just very important. We'll also go now to Hortus Conclusus in Artas, Bethlehem in Palestine. It's the closed garden, right? So this feast at the convent recalls this Marian title, right? It comes from the Song of Songs in chapter 4, verse 12. A garden enclosed is my sister, my spouse, right? This shrine was the desire of a Bishop Mariano Soler, who was the Bishop of Montevideo in Uruguay, because he used to go there to pray, right? Because, he took his trip there and... not that he went there to go pray. Sorry. In 1885, he took a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and he decided that he wanted to build a place that would sing the praises of Mary, right? The shrine is entrusted to the daughters of Mary Most Holy of the Garden, because Monsignor Soler used to go pray at their convent, right? It's a very important thing. There's some sort of canonical relationship that started in 1904 to the Shrine of the Blessed Virgin of the Garden of Chiavari, and then to the Basilica of Mary Major the following year. So that's an important connection there. Then we also we go back to France for the Immaculée Conception in Campitello, Haute-Corsica, France. This is an apparition that took place in 1899 on, you guessed it, June 26th. It was a Maddalena Parsi known as Liliana, a very pious, quiet, and serious 14-year-old girl who went to go gather some wood outside of her town of Campitello, right? It was a poor and essentially forgotten township. She was praying her rosary as she was gathering branches when all of a sudden she heard sweet singing all around her. One of the cousins who accompanied her also heard this melody. Perpetue Lorenzi was the name of the cousin. When the singing stopped, Liliana turned to have a word with her cousin about what was going on, but she saw, sitting on a rock, a lady dressed in white with a blue veil on her head, smiling. Right? So again, a part of these messages that Our Lady spoke to them was, she said, "You don't know how many indulgences you earn when you recite the rosary." She also said, "I came to prevent war. I show myself that the world may believe. I'm the Blessed Virgin, and I carry Jesus in my arms, all bloody. Oh, my poor dear children, pray. Poor sinners, pray, or the devil will take you to hell." Okay, there we go. So that's that as well. Then we jump across the ocean to go to Our Lady of the Holy Rosary in Parma Heights, Ohio. Interesting story. The shrine was dedicated in 1936, on this day, 1936. The shrine itself was actually originally the gift of an anonymous donor, who in 1935 sent a request to the Sisters of the Incarnate Word and Blessed Sacrament, asking that a shrine be built in honor of Mary. In 1936, Parma Heights, Ohio was, basically nothing. There was a few houses and a handful of businesses, but Route 42 was the major north-south route which connects Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. So the donor had thought this through and said that, they obviously wanted a place of reflection and a reminder of Mary's love and protection for her pilgrim people that were taking this trip. So the shrine was dedicated June 26, 1936. It's very, very beautiful. It's actually been, since that time, a place of prayer and peace. The shrine itself has actually been remodeled and expanded twice, in 1952 and in the year 2000. Lastly, we go to the Madonna di Monte Spineto, Our Lady of Monte Spineto, which is a shrine that is on the top of a hill where the inhabitants of Stazzano, which is where it is, took refuge during the invasion of the soldiers of Barbarossa. Mary responded to the prayers of her children, and they made a vow that kept them completely safe, right? In fact, the entire place and all the inhabitants never had to suffer anything whatsoever from those armies, right? In recognition of this, they built on that shrine a huge shrine to their heavenly liberator or liberatrix. And so that's what we're celebrating today in the Marian world on June 26th. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue with Meditation 83, entitled The Heart of Mary. So 2 days ago, we heard the double object, the material element, which is Mary's physical heart. That's what we talked about yesterday. And today we'll consider the third point, the formal object, the love contained in Mary's heart. We can leave aside the question whether indeed our heart of flesh influences us in our love. One thing is certain. Our affections have a repercussion on our heart. They affect it. Whether it is sadness or joy, fear or anger, all is recorded in our heart. They speed up or slow down its beatings. Sometimes they even paralyze it. Evidently, there is a close connection between the physical life of our heart and the affective life of our soul. Maybe on account of this, everybody refers to the heart as to the cause, the reason, the seat, or at least the symbol of love. And it is in this current and popular meaning that we refer to it. Consider then that in every man, what interests us is his heart, and therefore his love. This being so, how much interest should we have in the heart of Our Lady? Man is what he is on account of his heart. All his science, all his ability and shrewdness, all his genius have very little use for us if they happen to exist in a man about whom we say, "Oh, he has no heart." How repulsive is such a one? On the contrary, how nice, how love-inspiring is a person who has a large heart, a noble and worthy heart. Everything is explained in the saying, "He has a large heart." Look now at your heavenly mother, who is at the same time the mother of God. What kind of heart must God have placed in her? If it had depended on you, what kind of heart would you have given her? It could not actually depend on you, but depend it certainly did on God. It was in God's hands that the mother of all mankind should have this or that heart. So if it was given to her by him, how great must it be? How lovable in his sight? Mary had to love both God and men with a love that stands second only to God's own love. How great then must be a heart that enclosed such love? For today's reading from the Admirable Heart of Mary, we continue with St. John Eudes' commentary on the Magnificat, and again we continue with chapter 4, My Spirit Rejoices in God my Saviour. Mary rejoiced for the great things that God's omnipotent goodness had wrought in her, the greatest wonders that had ever come to pass in all the preceding centuries, the greatest that will ever take place in all the ages to come, as we shall see further on in the explanation of the 4th verse. Mary rejoiced not only for the favors that she had received from God, but also for the graces and mercy that he had showered upon all men who were disposed to receive his priceless gifts. Mary's heart rejoiced not only in the goodness of God towards those who placed no obstacle in its way, but also in the manifestations of his justice towards the proud, who scorn his generosity. In addition, the rejoicing of the Blessed Virgin sprang from another very special cause, most worthy of her incomparable bounty. St. Antonius cites the reason. This is from one of his writings. And I repeat it here so that it may encourage us to love and serve Mary, whose love for us is so great. Here it is. In explaining the words exultavit spiritus meus, the saint says that we must interpret them as we do those spoken by the Savior on the cross. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. That's Luke 23:46. That is, Father, I commend to thee all who will be united with my spirit through faith and charity. But he who is joined to the Lord is one spirit. That's a quote from 1 Corinthians 6:17. In like manner, the mother of the Savior, being wholly delighted and ecstatically enraptured in God when she pronounces these words, my spirit hath rejoiced in God my Savior, sees in spirit the almost countless multitude of those who will have special love and devotion for her, and be numbered among the predestined, from which she derives an inconceivable joy.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.